Today, we will work on day trading examples with premium and discount zones. We'll see how to combine high and low time frames. We will learn how to day trade or scalp gameplay boxes in lower time frames. Finally, I'll show you again what to look for to avoid stop hunts, fake setups, and stop losing money. Okay, for the newcomers, this is our teaching video with examples. And again, you need to watch the videos in order because if you miss a video, you will not understand the terms. And keep emailing me like, what is an order block? I also publish study documents on Google Drive for free if you are interested. Now, let's see the examples. As always, the first thing you should be doing is determining your high time and low time frames. It could be any time frame. You can combine 4 hours and 15 minutes or 3 to 2 hours and 15 minutes. It is something about finding the clearest price action setups. As you can see, this asset is in a significant downtrend. Keep making low lows by making high quality breaks of structures. This is an extremely high quality break of structure. Giant red candlesticks, big imbalances, and very fast dumping movement. You already know that the power of imbalance and order block combination is one of the most strong resistance places. This is my point of interest. Now, if you remember the previous video, which we talked about premium and discount zones, for me the extreme interest area is critical for entry decisions. As you can see, my interest area is in the premium zone. It is also my entry zone above the break-off structure. Now, this is a little trick that I use. Generally, you'll notice candlestick clusters inside the market structure breaks and breaks of structures. You can use the fixed range volume tool to identify the fair value of these clusters. I sometimes enter a trade with a fixed volume range tool. I'll do a whole another video about volume trading in the future. Now, one of the first rules of avoiding losing money, determining your supply and demand areas at the same time. This way, you'll have an idea about where the price can bounce from, so you will not mistakenly short or long from these places. As you can see, I finally determined my gameplay area from the previous video. I encourage you to do this. Multiple trading pairs for cryptocurrencies, gold or Forex in high time frames. So when the time comes, you can scalp or day trade the assets. Okay, let's check the low time frames. As you notice, I used 2 hours as my main high time frame and 15 minutes as my low time frame. Now, this is a high quality break, and it is in my gameplay zone. I'll be looking for short opportunities until the price reaches the high time frame imbalance and the order block below. Now let's talk about these trade opportunities. First of all, let's talk about stop loss and the target. You can enter this trade anywhere inside this imbalance. It is your preference, but stop loss and target will determine whether you're gonna make money or not. In a perfect world, I would want it to drop to the high time frame imbalance at once, but it's not gonna happen. So you should use the internal mini imbalances as your targets or take partial profits. As you can see, this one. My stop loss is above the internal order block, or you can say at the swing high. I told you before, I'm using large stop loss areas. I'm not trying to be a hero. Markets are quite shaky nowadays. I repeat, do not be a hero. Just make money. As you can see, this was a great trade. Price reaches my imbalance. It is also a premium zone. And it is in the extreme interest area. Grabbing 2R. This is what you need. Collect 1R, 1.5R and 2R. Just keep making money. Okay, let's see the second trade. After this, we'll talk about fake breaks and explain why you keep losing money. Okay, what do you see here? We keep repeating the same thing over and over again, using high-quality breaks, imbalances, premium and discount zones, using larger stop losses and imbalances as targets. This was a really long and boring trade. However, I specifically chose this trade to show you reality. In real life, trades are like this. They take time and they are boring. Now let's talk about fake setups and why new traders keep losing money. As you can see, if you use a single time frame and if you do not check the left of your charts, your failure rates will double because your analysis will be weak. In this example, I'm trying to short this high quality break. I would definitely try to short this if I did not know there was an imbalance and order block from the high time frames. As a result, identifying both your supply and demand areas from the high time frames will save you money. Always try to identify both supply and demand areas at the same time, where the price can bounce back and where the price can move to. These little tricks will save you money. I hope that you can use these little tricks and identify where to enter a trade and where not to enter a trade. But all these require practice. I'm sure that you'll improve in time. This is all for this session. Would you like to subscribe to the channel and help me to grow it? Thank you, take care, and see you soon, guys.